We're doing it again, my friends. Welcome to another podcast. I just believe I need to send a strong message from the get-go to some of you today. It's time you get it together, man. That's it. Get it together. You say, Henry, what are you talking about? You see, I really want you to succeed. I really want you to win in life. I really want you to maximize the next half of your life, the next season of your life. And the only way you can do that is you have to get it together. So often, we put the burden on other people, systems, and institutions to create our success and to create our future, when in reality, you and I are responsible for our own destiny. Our own destiny. I am amazed at how so many of you have allowed your insecurities, you have allowed actually the influence of others, which is really bad, to direct your destiny. And I can tell you, whenever you do that, you're going to come up empty. You are going to literally be frustrated and feel like a failure. And I want to talk to some people today. I may say some tough things, and I don't want you to think that I'm attacking you. What I've realized is that sometimes when you have people like me who are life coaches, I'm a life coach. I believe I coach people spiritually, physically, and even financially. And I believe I'm qualified to do that because I've had the experience. I've made mistakes, and I have seen where, because of my experiences and how I've weathered those mistakes and have succeeded and have turned out pretty good, I feel that I've graduated, and now I have a license, to help people. And sometimes, life coaches like myself will come off in a way that we're forceful, that we're dominant, like we're controlling. And I think many of you are smart enough to know when we are not, when a person really has an ulterior motives. I am truly here to help you win. So I may not say it the way you would like to receive it, because sometimes the way you would like to receive it will not push you, will not finally let you get it to let you know you can do better, right? So I want to talk to you about that. You ought to get it together, man. I want to talk to you. Some of you have literally lost your common sense. Let me say it again. You have literally lost your common sense. You have allowed, because you have lowered your guard, because you have allowed systems and people to cause you to deviate from your purpose. You find yourself in situations you have no business in. You got to respect yourself. That's the thing, man. You have to first respect yourself, male or female. You have to respect yourself, and you have to set goals on who you are, what you're trying to achieve, and what your ultimate legacy will be. And I have to tell you, I have, fallen victim of that before, where I think I've lost my sense of purpose. I've lost where I was going, and I had no idea that I literally had done some stuff, man. Looking back now, I have to what were you thinking? What was you really thinking, Henry? And it happens to all of us. You have to get to a place where you've got to put more emphasis and more worth on yourself, your life, and your destiny. All right? You have to. And how do you do that? You have to first establish the fact that you as an individual is worth something. As a man, you are worth being this man that God has called you to be. That you're a great guy. You're full of potential. You're full of abilities, Greatness is inside of you. That there's so much inside of you that other people in society and in your time on the earth, you have to deposit it in the earth. As a woman, you have to see yourself as this precious person, this incredible human being that is destined for greatness, that is destined to build an empire, to leave a legacy. That person who is truly an asset to someone, to your siblings, to your family, to a company, to your own business. You are a valuable asset to a man. Same thing with a man. You are a very valuable asset to a woman. Unfortunately, we have lowered our guards down and we've become a liability instead of an asset. And no wonder we can't have real success. Everybody in society today, everybody's talking. We all have our own opinions and so forth. But I'm going to tell you something. The greatest way to live your life is to live it in silence. I can't tell you how many people, and this is what really gets us in trouble. That's why we lose our value, because we've allowed society, we have allowed the systems of our world, especially now the digital platforms, social media, we've allowed those things to determine how we should live our lives. So we live our lives to impress, and that is why we have to live it out loud. We have to live it out loud. Everybody's got to see what we're doing. Everybody got to see how we look. Everybody's got to see if we're happy. We don't really seldomly show the pain, the agony, the distress, the loneliness, the unfulfillment that we feel. We don't show that. Very seldom people go and post all of that. There could be people who are dying internally, people who are unhappy. It's amazing how they'll fake the photo and they'll post, and because they're sending a message, hey, I'm happy, when in reality you're not. Because there's a need to impress. There's a need to say, hey, I am happy. And because of that, we'll lose our self-worth. Because we're saying our value is based on how many likes, how many comments, the response of people. There's so many people, if negative response comes on their platforms and their DM and so forth, what? They'll cuss people out, attack them back on social media, or they sink into depression. You cannot allow those things to put value on you, who you are. You have to value yourself, young man, young lady. As a man, you have to say to yourself, who are you? What do you possess? What's your worth? And when you know your worth, you don't need to prove anything to anybody. You do it in silence, because I always tell people the future will tell. The future will tell. I tell so many young people today when I talk with them, and they live extravagantly, they spend all their money, and it's amazing some of the statements I hear from some of these younger people. You live life once, you live it up. Tomorrow's not promised, and that's true. Tomorrow's not promised. So because tomorrow's not promised, they take the risk and go and spend, because you know what? So what if I don't get to live next week? At least I spent it on myself. But failing to understand that, what if you live 30 more years? What if you live 40 more years? And you keep up that kind of a mindset, what will happen 40 more years will find you having nothing. And I got to tell you this, man. I measure people's success, right? Not by what they say, but by their actions, by what they have achieved. And it doesn't have to be money, right? But where's your success? Are you truly happy? The greatest success in life, and I tell people this, the greatest success in life is not having a 10-bedroom house on the beach. It's not having a Rolls Royce. It is not, flying private jets. It's not having $20 million in the bank, because there's a whole lot of people on the planet with that, but they're miserable. They're unhappy, and killing themselves, drinking themselves to death, smoking, and doing drugs. It's crazy. On meds, right? The greatest success in life is to be able to say, one, you're content, meaning you're happy, regardless. You lose, you win, you're happy. That you're really sincerely happy, and your happiness is not tied to material things. Here's the big one now. It's not even tied to people. Yes, having someone in your life, your family, your friends, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, having that person, of course, enhance the happiness. It brings a sense of, okay, I'm glad I have this person in my life. But you know why a lot of people hurt genuine, honest people is because they're broken. They're broken. They themselves are unhappy. And unhappy people make other people unhappy. It's just the God's honest truth. Someone who is unhappy, right? Now, I care they sugarcoat it. They don't even realize it. They literally make other people unhappy. And that's not real happiness, man. Happiness is having the ability to know your self-worth and to say, I'm happy with me. I'm okay with me. I'm fine. If I have, I don't have. I'm happy. Happy with the color of my skin, happy with my sex, happy with, the material things, the money that I have. I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy by myself, or I'm happy with someone else. I'm happy on this job, and so forth. So I'm happy with who I am, the way I think, my personality, all of that, right? So you got to get it together, man. If you don't fix you, so many times people tend to so quick, I'm fixing other people when they themselves are shattered. They don't even know it. And that's the worst thing. I can tell you, the worst state you can find yourself in. And I think every one of you, including me, should really take a self-examination. And if you really want to have success, and if you don't want to blow it, if you don't want to screw your life up, I'm telling you, man, you have to stop for a moment and say to yourself, who are you? What kind of a value do you place on yourself? Do I need to be fixed? What's in my life that's broken? What's in my life that I'm doing that's not good? We have to begin to examine that. All of us have fell victim of that. We have to begin to ask, who am I? And what I'm doing, where is that going to lead me? Now, not only should you fix yourself, but there are times we find ourselves loving people so much that we see that they're heading down the wrong path. We see that they really need help. We see greatness in them, and we really want them to be their best. We want them to be at their best self, right? So we go and we try to help them. Our children, we see our kids and we know what they're doing is wrong. And we're like, we've been there, done that, got a t-shirt to show for it. So our job is, we're there for our kids. And sometimes our kids don't want to be helped. Sometimes our children think they know it all. And you know what? To be honest, sometimes you just got to back off. And I know as parents, you don't want to do that. Back off, allow them to make their own mistakes after you've told them now. I'm not saying you see them going down the wrong path and you don't say anything. Share with them. If they're receptive to your instructions, then fine. But if they're not, leave them alone. Because scripture tells us the prodigal, he thought he knew it all. He thought he had the answer to all of his problems. And you know how that story ended, right? And so forth. So something got to back away. Same thing with you're dating someone. And, the person, you value yourself. You know your worth. You know what you bring to the table. You know the desire that you have, the union you're trying to build. You know that. You know you're trying to build something strong. And sometimes you see them going down the wrong path and you're trying your best to help them out, and nope, they're not listening. That's where sometimes you have to make a decision, because one thing I've learned in life is that you can love, but you don't have to be together. There are people who you would love, but you love them enough that you have to separate. Because at the end of the day, your own life, your own destiny is in jeopardy. And I don't care who it is. Nobody is worth you killing your dream and aborting your destiny. No one. Nobody on the planet is worth that. Because if people have enough sense, they'll understand, especially in a partnership, if you're in marriage and so forth, people ought to understand that I value myself. I know what I bring to the table. But if you're going to kill my dreams, my aspirations, that helps the union, and you don't care nothing about yourself, you don't care nothing about your future. I mean, the list goes on and on. At some point in time, you can't be that stupid. You just got to say enough is enough. And you got to get it together. And as painful as it is, walk away. You have to walk away to preserve your own sanity and to preserve your own worth, because people are very good at devaluing who you are. And I know this is raw. Maybe you have bad concepts right now. Maybe your response and your attitude towards what I'm saying is not friendly. I get that. I have thick skin. I can handle that. I welcome all your comments. But I'm telling you, you have to get it together, but first place value on who you are. You got to get it together to make the decision that not only do you place value on who you are, but you have to then begin to understand and ask yourself the question, what's your goal? What's your intention? I mean, what's your aspiration? Where do you see yourself in the future? Because when you place worth on yourself, then you have to have a vision. What is your vision? I don't know what age you are right now, but the next 20 years, what's your vision? And please don't tell me it's just to go to work and just work and, pay bills and, it's got to be more than that. And then once you understand your vision and your purpose, then you get it together. Listen, the person who has tapped into their purpose and the person who has mapped out the will of God for their lives is a dangerous person. Dangerous person. I'm telling you, once you zoom in on who you are, and it's not influenced by outsiders, it's not influenced by people. You see, my destiny doesn't hang on whether people support me or not. No, my destiny is solely on the fact that I believe God and I believe that's His will for my life. Therefore, I trust Him that He is going to walk me through the process. So no matter what happens in the process, I trust the process. Ooh, I remember years ago, I preached that message at IBC, and it's trust the process. I will never, ever forget that for the rest of my life. Joseph did not understood the ups and downs of his life. I mean, here's a guy who was born in a family with so many brothers, and he had to deal with jealousy. Jealousy, I'm telling you, my friends, you got to get it together. People are always going to be jealous, for what you have, jealous over what you have, and you're going to be surprised. Sometimes it's going to come from strange places you least expected it to come from. Who would have thought that Joseph's own blood brothers would have, plotted against him? Who would have thought that? Envious over a jacket that he never asked for. His dad decided to favor him with a special jacket. You'd be surprised that when responsibilities and favor are placed upon you, how people get jealous. But you have to get it together, and you cannot act in kind or indifferent with these people. So many of you, it's your attitude that always gets you in trouble. Your attitude, your attitude. You're arrogant, you're tough-headed, um, and the worst part about it is you have nothing. And again, I know you may be thinking I'm here to curse you out. No, I'm going to treat you like my own child. It's like, okay, fine. Since you think you're so bad and since you think you can do whatever, okay, it's like, when you look at your kid, Brad, I'm my own independent person and I think the way I want to think and I want to do this. And Jack, you don't have nothing. You're living under somebody's roof. You ain't got nothing. You don't know what it is to pay light bill. You don't know what it is to pay the car notes. You don't know what it is to pay mortgage and insurance. You do not know what it is to maintain a house. So yeah, you can get cocky with your attitude and so forth, because at the end of the day, if I put you out, how you going to survive? Think about that. And sometimes I think people become arrogant because they think they are all of that, not knowing that you need to humble yourself, and get it together and realize that, wait a minute, you're not as mature as you think, that you need to take wise counsel, that you need to begin to examine and say to yourself, okay, I have to go through this process. Jealousy, people are going to get jealous over me, and then shut up. Joseph closed his mouth, didn't argue with his brothers. Sometimes people are going to drag you into a place where they'll sell you out like they did with Joseph. Sold him. People will sell you out. They'll gossip with you. They'll turn their backs on you. They'll coordinate and have people to come pick you up where they dropped you. And then, of course, you're going to get bitter. No, you can't. Joseph, when you read the story, you didn't see where Joseph arguing, fighting with them, cussing them out, trying to get back at them and trying to get into an attitude. No, Joseph kept his mouth closed. Even when he went to Potiphar's house and ended up in a situation where Potiphar's wife really was testing him and wanted to sleep with him, and he wouldn't, and he ran and left his jacket. Now, of course, Potiphar's wife, concocted, if you will, coordinated a story and put it together and trying to cover it up and make it look like Joseph first attacked her. People will do some ungodly stuff, man, to sabotage you, man. And you know the story. He ended up going into prison. End up in the prison, not for any reason of his own, no fault of his own. He ended up in prison. And when he ended up in prison, it was through his experience in the prison that he got promoted to becoming prime minister and turned around and helped his very family. Sometimes what you're going through is not so that you can just get up and point fingers and say, I told you so. Sometimes it's to turn right back around and help them jokers who didn't even believe in you. And that's the hard part. So I'm saying to some of you out there, some of you won't receive it. Some have logged off already. Some didn't even want to hear it. But I'm saying to you today, get it together. You have another chance to put your life in perspective, because if you don't, there's some chances. I tell people, people say God's a God of second, third, fourth chances. Yeah, that's true. But there's some chances you will only get once. The Bible says to everything there's a season. There's a season, a set time. And when that season is gone, you may never get that back again. So you need to get it together. Based on your age, based on what you have lost, you can't be playing around too much anymore. Got to focus. My friends. And if you focus, you can get things together and you can achieve greatness. I hope I stirred your hearts up today to really zero in on where you want to go. What do you want to achieve? Where do you see yourself? And if where you are right now is not steering you in that direction, get it together. Get your mind together, the way you think. If your mind is dirty and negative, and if you are too mighty that you can't take instructions and you get offended easily, you better get it together, man. You better get it together. If you're hanging out with wrong people, you better get it together. You better get it together. If you haven't started saving, you better get it together. If you haven't start doing the things to get you to where you desire to be, get it together. In the meantime, I'm going to get it together until I see you next time on another podcast. Thanks for watching and listening.